everybody. Welcome to another Toy Guys Talking. Go ahead, have a sip. That's what Toy Guys Talking is all about. It's about enjoying lovely beverages, and I'm enjoying one for the folks who are listening along on the podcast and can't see, from a Autobot mug. Pure Hot Energon, and it's great to be talking to you again, Matt.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Toy Guys Talking too. So you just recently, we're going to talk about Toy Fair in a bit, but the first thing I want to talk about is you took a trip out to Kokomo Toys.
Yeah. So I've probably gone there, I don't know, it's probably my fifth or sixth trip over there. It's about 2.5 hour drive from home. And
where is Kokomo Toys for people who don't know?
So it's, if you go to Indianapolis, and then you kind of go straight north, probably about 45 minutes thereabouts. So it's kind of north central Indiana.
Okay.
And not too far from, obviously, Indianapolis, but if you're in Chicago, it's not too far from there. It's probably not too far from like Cincinnati. It's a decent drive. So, and I will tell you, it's quite the experience. It's definitely worth making the trip. So
how big is this place?
It's quite big. I don't know the square footage, but and I'll send you some video to kind of you can get a frame of reference. But it's pretty significant. They've got probably 4 or 5 rows, very long rows. It is just loaded, floor to ceiling. It's one of those where you go down one of the aisles, and then you turn around and you come back and you see different stuff, because there's just so much. But you name it, they've got it. And that's probably the best thing about Kokomo is that they have old and new. I think that they are, they have Super 7. I think that they're one of their vendors. So you can get the new releases from them. They've got and then they've got all the vintage stuff. You just randomly name something, and I would be willing to bet that they've got it, and they've probably got 4 or 5 of them. It's like
Inhumanoids.
What's that?
Inhumanoids.
Yeah, they have them.
Wow. Visionaries?
I'm pretty positive I did see some Visionaries there last time.
Supernaturals.
Yeah, Supernaturals, I know. While I don't think I saw them this go around, but maybe the trip or two before, they had some mint on card Supernaturals, which I thought of you because I know you've been kind of, gifted some Supernaturals here semi recently. He's done a lot of carded ones too. Yeah. So
they actually, I wouldn't be surprised if there's more mint on card Supernaturals than loose Supernaturals out there right now. Because growing up, I always thought Visionaries were superior because they were Sunbow and Supernaturals didn't have a cartoon. That was pretty much what my criteria was based on. But now, when I compare them, honestly, a Supernatural mint on card looks to me cooler than a Visionary mint on card, because the Visionaries, the hologram is so tiny, right, so small, and then you got the staff too. But the other thing is the Visionaries, they really don't sit in the bubble right. They're always hunched, and they look bad in the bubble a lot of the time. And the Supernaturals are just, wow, look at that chest hologram and the shield hologram, and they're glow-in-the-dark accessories. So I actually do think Supernaturals mint on card look better than Visionaries.
I had a few Supernaturals as a kid. I didn't have any Visionaries. I thought I had Visionaries. It's kind of one of those things where it's when it would get mentioned, it's like, oh yeah, I had Visionaries, but I had Supernaturals.
Yeah.
I had the hologrammed toys, flip flopped. So, and I always thought that they were really, really cool, with especially like you said, with Supernaturals, you had the nice big hologram, that was, you hold it in your hand. Of course, as a kid, it seems even bigger, right?
Oh,
yeah, super cool. But yeah, Kokomo, again, I've purchased so many things from it. It's kind of crazy.
This Toy Guys Talking is not brought to you by Kokomo Toys. We
Right.
just we just like them.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
not everything we plug on this channel is sponsored or paid for or paid advertising. Sometimes you just like what the person is doing. I mean, I got some stuff from Marauder Gun Runners. They've never sent me a single thing that I didn't pay for. I love it, and I'm going to do a video on it. So not everything is a product placement. Sometimes it's
Right.
just really good product and service.
And it's for me, it's it's one of those places where you want to. I think it's for fans like us of vintage toys and toys in general. It's worth going to. So if this is an opportunity for people to be like, oh, I really need to put a pin in the map and make my way over there at some point, then it's worth it. So, but yeah, they like I said, Defiant. I've got my Defiant from there. Night Raven. I mean, I could go on and on. So the recent trip, I actually took some items over that had kind of been in the closet and was taking up space. And I said, you know what, it's time to maybe let those items go. They were newer items, and items that had good value, but I just didn't really feel like I needed to hold on to them any further. And I sold them to Kokomo. They will purchase toys off of collectors, and I picked up a USS Flagg. So
Yeah. Welcome to the Admirals Club.
yes, so the last basically 2 days I've been cleaning it. It had a lot of the original decals on it, but they weren't in the best shape. And I'm one of those where I like to take something fully apart, clean it, make it as pristine as possible, and then put fresh decals on it. So right now it's clean and it's got no decals on it, but I will be ordering a new set here soon to make it pristine. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
You know what's funny? When I got my Flag, it had same deal, right? Worn out stickers, especially like the 99 is so huge.
Right.
For folks who have never seen a USS Flag in person, you cannot believe how big the 99 stickers are because it's not just 99. There's a black part around the
Right.
like the hooks of the nine, so it's a big solid sticker and it's glossy. And I don't know about on yours, but mine has. I don't know if it was originally like this because it's not my original Flag, but there's the folds and the pinches in it, the
Right.
wrinkles.
Yeah. I've actually come from a business that does a lot with decals, and we call it kind of delaminating.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks like two layers of so you had kind of the base layer that was where the graphic was, and then they had a kind of a clear layer over the top. And at one point in time, I'm sure it was perfectly smooth and nice. But over time, they've become delaminated and started separating. That's exactly right. Mine was the exact same way, where it was, all kind of wrinkled and funky, and had a bunch of air bubbles, and it was, for me, it was unsightly. I'm kind of a perfectionist in some regards, so I was like, that's got to go.
Especially
So,
with the Flag. I mean,
right.
and especially when it's that big, it's the biggest sticker in the collection, not just G.I. Joe, but in this entire collection that I have, there isn't a single decal on anything bigger than the 99 on the Flag. And a lot of the other stickers on the Flag were starting to peel or worn out. So when I got the Flag first, years before I started the channel, just a Flag for myself, I bought the Repro stickers. I think it was from Cobra Stickers, super high quality at the time. I haven't gotten Cobra stickers in years. I think they're owned by Toy Hacks now.
They are.
Yeah. So, and they came in a giant like folder, like the type of street sign type of material, the hard plastic to hold them in because they're so huge. And I've never taken the time because every time I wanted to go and peel all those stickers off and do the big restoration job, I was like, not today. I'll let the original stickers stay on there, even as worn out and wrinkled as they are. I'll let them last another day. And I don't know, it's been 3, 4, 5 years of those just sitting under one of the struts in here. I've got the stickers and I'm kind of hoping that the day when I eventually do it, if I do it, they're still sticky because sometimes those stickers, after a while, they just lose their stickiness.
So the reproduction decals that I've purchased are also from Toy Hacks or Cobra Stickers at .com. The Defiant, got the set for that. Did all the stickers there, and that was actually, I think that's the only thing I've ordered from them. Now that I think about it, was the Defiant decals, and you're right, the quality is great. One of the nice things about the toy hacks is that they die cut them instead
Yeah.
of, at some of them you have to cut, and yeah,
Oh, those days
that's
were brutal. That's Repro Label's early day was that they would just send you a sticker sheet and you'd have to use an X-Acto knife,
right.
and that was absolutely brutal. Tell me something about the new stickers. The ones that I got all those years ago, they had a nice texture to them. Like they weren't
Yeah,
just smooth and or
yeah,
paper
yeah.
feeling, but they had like a not a grit, but like a nice, a pleasant, a very pleasant texture to them.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah, so they're got a little bit of a matte to them. They're
Matt,
not
that's it.
ultra,
Yeah.
yeah, not ultra glossy. Yeah, they apply really, really nicely. I'm kind of looking beyond at the Defiant here, and yeah, what the nice thing about like the white shuttle on the Defiant is that it was a very bright white, but it was also kind of a matte white.
Hmm.
And those decals go perfectly over the top. They don't have these. You don't have these big like matte finish and then gloss, like for the
Right.
sticker that, what I mean? Like it blends nicely. So yeah, I've been really happy with quality. They go on easy. Um, yeah, yeah, super pleased. So I'm stoked to get the Flag set, start working on that. So the one thing, you mentioned the size of the 99. So um, that, I will tell you, the biggest chore was removing the decal. That part actually wasn't hard, but getting the adhesive off.
Yes. How do you?
Oh,
Because
that was
sometimes it just turns into concrete. Like Goo Gone won't get rid of it.
well. Mine was actually the sticky was very almost, I wouldn't say it was liquidy, but it was super, like when I pulled the 99 up, it was like strings of like
Goo.
of adhesive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like super gooey. So yeah, it wasn't hard and dried out or anything like that. It was just super, super gooey. So what I did is I used the Goo Gone, I used like
Right.
the professional strength Goo Gone, and I just kind of, poured a little bit over it and kind of, put it on the surface and let it sit for a while. And that seemed to eat it up pretty good. And that worked pretty well. Of course, the one thing you worry about is, especially with like the high strength Goo, is it going to do anything to the surface? And
Yeah.
it didn't, thankfully. It all seems well. So anyway, yeah. So
Is this the first Flag you've ever had?
yeah, yeah. So I never had one as a kid. I never had the Defiant, the Flag, or the Terradrome, the big three. The biggest place that I had was the Rolling Thunder, or vehicle. I had like the tactical battle platform, some of those size, kind of like the intermediate sized items, but I never did have like the big monster play sets or vehicles. So yeah, the Flag is rounds out. I've got the Terradrome, the Defiant, now the Flag. So I've got kind of the trifecta of, the GI Joe, big play sets, or the grails, so to speak. So
Well, this is exciting for me because I remember vividly getting my Flag. So, it's I know what you're going through to some extent. How about the deck? Like the first time I saw the deck, I went because I'd been used to GI Joe. I knew the feel, the weight, the smell, everything of every plastic they ever used on every or almost every GI Joe vehicle. And when I saw that deck, I went, "What the heck is this? Fiberglass?
yeah, yeah, it's
It's unlike
totally different.
anything ever used on any toy. Period."
Yeah. No, I was checking that out too, because yeah, you flip it over, you've got the textured surface over on the top, and it's pretty uniform in color, right? But yeah,
Yeah.
you flip it over, and you see all like the striations of the material, and like the raw uh, portion of the material. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Yeah, super robust.
Yeah.
Um,
Built to last.
yeah, it really is. I was pretty impressed by just how robust it is.
For the folks who don't know, haven't seen one, or haven't seen the underside of a Flag, you could take that deck, certainly not the struts, not the strut pieces underneath. Those those are peanut brittle. It's kind of funny. It's like this indestructible material held together with peanut brittle. Um, but you could literally put it on the ground, I think, and stomp on it. Like a
Oh,
200-pound guy could jump up and down on it, and you could not break it because this is shower. This is bathtub material.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so there's no worries about the deck of the Flag. Maybe, you can worry about some of the stuff underneath. Did you get any, is your Flag complete, and are any of the struts broken tabs on them?
No broken tabs.
Oh,
Struts are struts are fully intact. It is not 100% complete. It's missing just a few items. And of course the few items it's missing are some of the key items, right?
sure.
So the two Y pins that go into the superstructure, and I don't have those,
The
which
last
they need.
The last thing I got after like a year or two of having it were the Y pins. Like I had it almost complete and then a little here, a little there, and it was like it felt like a year gap. Like I had all the deck clips, I had the turn wheel next to keel haul, everything and the Y pins, and I was like, I don't care about, I'm not paying $50 for a Y pin.
Right.
But I certainly paid something like 25 each, but like spread over months. And I was like,
Right.
yeah, like, I'm not, I'm probably one of the ultimate non-completists, but to have a whole almost complete USS Flag, except for one Y pin, I was like, I have to, I have to.
Yeah, so the Y pins, the purge valve, I think is the one
Purge
item you're
valve,
like, yeah. So I need the purge valve,
mass
mass
cap,
cap,
mass
mass
cap.
cap. Yep. Um, I need the two antenna, just like like for the radar dish, little antenna portion. I need those two because there's two of those, so I need those. And then of course the infamous rear rail, down below there.
It's all infamous. All of it. The whole thing is infamous.
So, but that other than that, it's good to go. There are some, like the superstructure. There's a couple little broken tabs on that. Not many, but so that's not perfect. But
Yeah.
it's, for me, it's one of those where it doesn't need to be perfect.
Well, this is where the fun begins. You get to restore it, and you're
Right.
starting with the sticker replacement, but also mine was the superstructure was really yellowed, and that was the ultimate hydrogen peroxide bleaching project. And if I didn't have a channel at the time, but definitely if I had to go and do it over again, that would have been an incredible like hour-long restoration video because I got one of those clear Rubbermaids from Walmart and filled the thing with bottle after bottle after bottle of hydrogen peroxide and just had it sitting outside on the porch. This superstructure, which is ginormous.
Mhm.
It's kind of the size of the mobile command center of GI Joe. Like itself is a giant base. Just
You're right.
never mind the deck.
Yep.
So that was an insane restoration project. Is your superstructure fairly white
It is
or
pretty white.
gray?
It's not right. It's not perfect by any means, but it's good enough to where I don't think I need to go through the process of de-yellowing it.
Yeah.
So we'll let it ride. I'm gonna put the decals on it, kind of see what it looks like with everything all freshened up, and I think it's good to go. I'm not, because I was debating when I was in the store looking at it. It was kind of one of those things where I was having a hard time just with the lighting. I was like, is it yellowed? Is it not? I couldn't really tell
Yeah.
until I got it home. The other thing too is that, it needed to be cleaned. So it had some dust and it had a little bit of dirt and some residue and things, just from years and years of storage. So again, it kind of skewed what the underneath looked like. So after cleaning it up, I think it looks pretty solid, good enough to where I'm not going to mess with the de-yellowing process. So
Was it hanging in the air? No, that's another store I'm thinking.
yeah, they actually had two flags. So they had four total available for purchase.
What
And they
place
probably,
in the world can you walk into and say we have, like, stores back in the 80s couldn't say we have 4 flags for sale.
yeah,
I only saw one in one store ever. So that's
right.
insane.
Yeah, so you walked it right, and again, I'll send you a video, and you'll see it when because I kind of start at the front door and work my way back. You'll see them off to the side.
Yeah.
But they had two in the front, and they had two, and they were like pretty much, they weren't fully decked out, but they were built and on display. They didn't have all the accessories and stuff in there. And they just had them on tables, you know, so you could see them.
This store must be huge.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah.
a Flagg is 7 feet long, 3 feet wide.
Yeah, exactly. And in the store, they seem tiny. It's kind of bizarre. Like in my house, it's enormous. In the store, it was like, you know, just kind of over to the side.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had the 4 total. They had one that was 100% complete. In pristine condition. I mean, absolutely pristine.
All I can say is ouch. I have a feeling I know what that cost.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, you can beep it out if you need to. It was actually, you know what? I thought after one thing I've noticed with the Flaggs as I've been watching them, the prices have kind of started to creep up a little bit. I'm not sure what that's due to. But it was $1,500. So, you know, for
that's not as much as I thought.
Right, 100% complete, and I'm talking like, you talk about yellowing, 0 yellowing.
Wow.
The decals, I think the decals were repro decals because they were pristine and perfect.
Yeah.
And and the 99 definitely had a different look to it, so I'm sure they were repro. Yeah. But I mean, it was perfect. It was tempting, but you know, that's a lot. That's a lot of cash.
Some might even say too much.
Right. So what I decided was,
well, yeah, another thing is, and I talked with Joseph about it on a recent Toy Guys Talking, the fun of restoration and repair, and he mentioned, hi Joseph, by the way. He mentioned when he gets a complete perfect mint figure, it's just kind of like, hi there.
Yeah.
You put them there, and there's no futzing with it. So like, I can't stress enough, of all of the Joe vehicles, of all of any 80s vehicles, the Flagg is the one that you want to spend weeks or months lovingly restoring and really getting to know and enjoying. If you want to relive your childhood or enjoy a golden period of your life again, like, you can with the Flagg. It's not zoom zoom whoosh, it's scrubbing, it's restickering, and cleaning it and fixing it.
So that's exactly why I decided to get the one that I did. It was not perfect. It, you know, needed a little bit of TLC, needed some pieces, and that's right up my alley. So, you know, I was pretty yeah, they're in the other room.
excited about the Flagg. What did your have you assembled it there yet?
Yeah.
What'd your wife say?
It's in. She's out of town on a work trip.
She hasn't seen it yet.
She doesn't even know I have it. So it's in the living room right now. So so anyway, yeah, that's.
You should stick the Defiant next to it.
Well, so now I've got it. I don't know how I'm going to display it, like, you know, long term.
Same here.
So,
same here. I mean, it's sitting here in the 80s Toy Museum, and I never, when I started doing videos, I never intended to do any filming in this room. In fact, when I started, I was doing on a blank wall, because I figured that's how you review things, just focus on the thing. And I did the video of the Flagg in the room simply because I couldn't get it out. If I could have fit it through the doorway, I would have rolled it over to a blank wall. And that kind of started that whole, every video has to be in here. There's something special about this room. So like, if you have a collection room, maybe the one you're in, it's got to go in there, and you just kind of have to do like I did, make your peace with the fact that you're going to be shuffling your feet from now on, and you've got that much less space. Or you can have it flying.
I had an idea where I was thinking about building a kind of like just a table with that has a base, and then what I would do is I would have it on the top, and then I would put the Defiant and the Terradrome underneath, and then have like lighting kind of tucked under there, lighting down on the Defiant. We'll see. I've been I think what I'm going to do is I've got it built right now. I cleaned it and then I put it together because how could you not?
Yeah.
And then I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and tear it down, and get the decal it, and then it'll probably stay deconstructed for a little bit until I can come up with the plan for display. But as soon as I have that figured out, I will be sure to share.
You got to be super careful. Obviously, but I'm just gonna emphasize, as careful as I am with this stuff, I break pegs every time I take it apart and put it back together. You just can't avoid it. I mean, you think you're being slow and careful, and you think, okay, I can feel it. It's gonna pop off and snap. Oh no. Like you just can't help it. That underneath part, I really hope one day we get some sort of super durable replacement struts for underneath, because like mine doesn't have to be 100% complete and original with no repros. If someone comes out with a fairly affordable, I mean, I'm not going to pay hundreds of dollars for these things, but if someone comes out with better struts, I'm going for it for sure. But with yours, since you're missing a few pieces, how do you feel about that? Does it need to be originals, or would you go with repros? Because there are like
Yeah.
repro mass pieces, repro wiping pins, deck
I've
clips.
been I've been debating that, just over the past couple of days. Been looking at the eBay listings and kind of getting a feel for the cost. Um, with the Defiant, I wanted it to be 100% complete, 100% original, 100% like non-broken, which is all of those things. Which is great. Um, the Flag, though, I don't know. Things might change. Right now I'm kind of leaning towards just doing the 3D printed
Yeah.
pieces, to keep the cost down.
Yeah.
And then maybe if I stumble across originals over time, I'll acquire them, as I can. But yeah, you talk about the mass cap, the the white pins, the railing, that purge valve, that right there, you're probably talking, $200, maybe more. you
Yeah.
know. Um, so that part, you know, we'll see. We'll see. I think I'm going to give the 3D printed pieces a go. I wanted to try the first 3D pieces I wanted were the veins for the whale, but I just haven't gotten around to buying those yet. So
Yeah.
because there's a guy that makes those that look pretty sharp, and I think that I wanted to try them. But even some of those 3D printed pieces are not cheap. Like you go and you look at those, you're like, wow, this is for a reproduction piece. This is still quite not, it's not cheap by any means. So for what it is, a little tiny piece. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, the restoration is underway, and super stoked. And it's funny, you brought up Joe, and when I was in Kokomo looking at the options, the one I landed on was probably the nicest with that needed some work. It wasn't too beat up or too far gone. And so I was like, you know what, I enjoy the restoration, just as you mentioned. It gives you a little bit more. You feel more of a personal, touch to it, or
It's your flag
connection.
that you raised.
Right. But on the way back, like I said, it's about a 2.5 hour drive. I actually listened to that Toy Guys talking with Joe,
Yeah.
and kind of confirmed my feelings.
About that. It's a good thing we weren't sitting there going, this whole restoration thing is just overrated. Man,
I was like,
I'm so tired. It's just not worth the time. But I think going for repros is the right call, because it's affordable, and then the hunt continues, right? It's not like you can go the other way. If you drop $100 on a mast cap and those couple pieces of the mast you're missing, and you've got them, then that's it. It's over. It's done. But you get the repros, they look great, you can appreciate it, and then one day, ooh, is that a mast cap? Especially if you find it at like a flea market, or who knows, and you're looking at like $10. Holy smokes, an
Yep.
original one. So it kind of keeps the fun going. But the other big thing I want to ask you is the underpart, that custom underpart, the um,
Yes.
ultimatizing of the USS Flagg, with I use particle board and 2x4s. You think you're going to do something like that?
So a friend of mine. So I've got two friends coming over tonight to watch. We're watching AEW's pay per view, which we're big AEW fans,
Yeah, me too.
and so I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
But they're coming over tonight. We want to watch that. Of course, they're very excited to see the flag. And as they were texting me, one of them was like, "Are you going to do the ultimate, version, like Mike Mercy has?" And I
Well,
said,
that
what?
was. I gotta say that it's a GI Joe Berg original
Right,
design, but
right.
I called it the ultimate thing, and that I'm so flattered when people say, "Oh, I saw your video and I did it, and you inspired me," and I love that. But tip of the cap to GI Joe Berg because they came up with that, and it was perfect for me, and I'm so happy to hear it's perfect for so many people because it's so simple. It's a lot of time, but it's so easy.
Right. The thing I like about it is the proportion. It gives it a little bit, a little more depth and kind of makes it just a little more proportional.
It's such a
Um,
big, long thing that's eating. It doesn't take up space. It eats space. It's like Unicron. And just by boosting it up a little bit, even better, like, what you were saying, put on a table and put the Terror Drome under it and the Defiant. But even just if you can't do that, having an extra level and putting boats or the Whale or Sky Strikers, man, it comes in handy just for, you know, getting some of your space back.
right. And then, yeah, just right now I've got like just what you said, the whale and other toys, that are on display in other areas, other cubbies.
Yeah.
So, if I could get those all kind of underneath the flag, it actually does help with the space situation a little bit, as odd as it is to say. But no, it's definitely on the radar. My father-in-law he's a woodworker, and he's got all the tools, and he's also retired. So so I think that he would kind of enjoy messing around with it. And I like how you did the kind of the cuts and the down, because I've seen a couple versions of it now, and some of them are just kind of simple. Put the like a 2x4 across in the shape. But I think if I remember correctly, yours has got the nice cuts in it. Like I think you have like a couple windows cut in and whatnot. Kind of
Nice.
being able to see through it a little bit with the lighting and whatnot.
My dad did help me out with cutting the base under part just a little
Mhm.
bit. So that's another thing that really makes my flag special. It's something that my pops helped me out with a little bit, even though full grown adult. But yeah, if you can, get someone to work on it with you, then that'll be another little special thing to add to it. The windows are awesome. That's where that plastic comes in handy, clear window plastic from packaging. So that's super easy custom. A lot of people have asked me about where'd you get your windows for the flag, and I said I just got it off of whatever window packaging you see, like a box of X-Men, Marvel Legends, or whatever. It's just scissors cut to sort of the shape on the inside.
Right.
It doesn't have to be exact because it's on the inside, and then you just use two-way tape. And
Yep.
I'm not even using glue here. This is just on the inside. It's thrown together, and
Yep.
that's the great thing about it. You look at it from the outside, and it looks like, where did you get that? And I'm going, man, that's a successful custom because that
Yeah.
took 5 minutes, and it looks like $1 million.
So I'll probably do that then. So last night, as I was wrapping up, putting everything together, I was like, okay, I need to sit down and relax a little bit. And I actually watched your review of your built, and I noticed those windows, and I said, oh man, I got to do
It
that.
makes a big difference.
Yeah, and you're right, because he had some nice close-ups of it, and I was like, man, it does. You can really, just the way that the light kind of reflects off of them, you can tell like they would add a little bit of detail and depth that wasn't there prior.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense to me. I might make a little bit of. Don't anybody worry if you hear anything fall over here. Oh, it's not the flag I'm picking up. It's the Hercules
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sentinel One. So this thing doesn't have windows either, and I use the exact same technique. You can
Okay,
see a little bit of the light bouncing off there. Same
sure.
thing, just that clear plastic packaging window cut and double taped on the inside. But for me, if something is big, like really big, um, not having windows just seems really cheap to me. So, I mean, the Sentinel One, all of those toys are really, really good, but they're still cheaper than GI Joe stuff. They're
Right.
more affordable. But when I saw the Flag without windows, I was like, this thing is too big and too grand and too mind blowing to not have windows. It needs to just have some windows, especially when you have something like the Mobile Command Center has windows and the Rolling Thunder has windows. It's like, wait a second. Like the smaller stuff, if anything, should not have, like the Vamp doesn't have a window, right? It should be the smaller stuff that doesn't have windows, not the bigger stuff. So that's an easy
Right.
custom. And then I would highly recommend two lights. And if you have an IKEA or something like that around, that's the best place to get lights for the Flag because you can get the color changing lights, the little touch lights. You just two-way stick them to the roof of the Flag, and they're LEDs, so they won't get hot and drop off like my original non-LED lights did. Like I'd be in this room and I was using those old lights before LED, and I would just randomly hear thoop, koomph, and then dominoes. Like no, but you can stick those in. It's nice for the superstructure, but it's especially necessary for the underpart because if
Right.
you don't have a light underneath, it's black. It's literally just pitch black darkness down there.
Right.
So what's the point of storing things under there if you can't ever see them?
Sure. Yeah. The hopefully the plan will be to do all of that. I had actually talked to a
Eventually.
yeah, exactly. Eventually, if I do the kind of the side bookcase, like I said, where I could put maybe all three items into one kind of case. I had talked to a friend who does epoxy work, and he said that he can make a nice top out of like various shades of blue and clear epoxy with like a little bit of metallic for the base to make it look like it's on water.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, so that,
Very
and he's
awesome.
like, it'll have like a lot of depth to it, and it'll look really nice, and look really cool. And I said, okay, well, we'll probably have to do that. So I've got some big plans. So it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of getting it done. So
So that's the Flag, and huge congratulations on that. I'm looking forward to seeing the Defiant on the Flag, like the shuttle, not the whole complex, but like if you could, once you're all done there, snap a picture. I'd love to see it. I don't think I've ever seen the space shuttle on the deck of the Flag. That'd
yeah,
be pretty
yeah,
wild.
yeah, no problem.
But Toy Fair, Toy
Yeah.
Fair. What excited you most about Toy Fair?
Um, so of course the big talk has been about the GI Joe, the classified.
It's classified.
That's right. Uh, I will tell you when they a couple days before the event started, the photos at least of Snake Eyes came out,
Yep.
and as a matter of fact, I think you did a video on it. And I'll tell you what, when I saw those photos, I was like, oh, well, here we go.
Yeah,
It's like
they're here.
open my wallet. So actually, I went ahead and pre-ordered. I pre-ordered two of them. I just figured, you know what, I might as well. And I know the other day, I was listening to other toy guys talking, and I think you had mentioned that you're going to sit back and kind of chill and
Yeah,
let it ride. And
see how it plays out.
yep. So
Because I want that fuzzy bugger right behind you, the timber. That's what I'm looking for.
yeah, yeah.
Like 6-inch Snake Eyes looks awesome, but it's missing something, and it's missing his most deadly weapon, timber.
I would agree with that. And you would believe that it's kind of what I envision is that the retail release of it is going to be basically the figure and his weapon, a couple of the key weapons, right? Maybe like the Uzi and his main sword. But then with Timber, none of the other, like the weapon stand and all of that other kind of, exclusive stuff will be included. So the retail release probably will be the better one to get, in all honesty. But I went ahead and pre-ordered the Snake Eyes just, because I think I got in quick enough to where it says it's shipping in April.
Oh,
So, if that actually comes to fruition, that'd be pretty sweet, to have it that quick. But yeah, excited about the Snake Eyes. Like many other folks, I'm iffy on the others. The Duke, I'm all right with the Duke. The Duke, I think, looks close enough to, he's got his kind of his, older, style uniform, and I think he's got some knee pad pieces that are a little bit, off. But I thought he looked pretty good. Honestly, I felt like the figures looked fine. I know that, again, I've heard some polarizing opinions on them. Some people think they're too Fortnite-ish, or
Yeah.
too modern, and I get it. The thing I think I was most disappointed in, Roadblock's gun was, the
Modus.
yeah,
Yeah,
whatever.
no Modus.
Right, right. It looked like something out of Titanfall or Fortnite, or some kind of video game. Very futuristic looking. But
All I can think is there's got to be some actual legal reason for that. There's no way that whoever is running Hasbro doesn't realize the synergy between Roadblock and Modus. They have to know. So there must have just been like when Jazz comes out and he's not a Porsche. It's just
right,
got to be them going, look, we can't, okay? We can't.
right.
So hopefully go get a 6-inch scale M2 somewhere else.
Absolutely. So, and there's many out there, so you could, I'm sure you'd be able to do that. Um,
Or use an
Scarlet's,
original one from Real American Hero, a little tiny mod dude.
yeah, little guy. Scarlet's crossbow, I think it might be a little over engineered or over designed. A friend of mine, actually, we were messaging back and forth with some of the Toy Fair stuff, and he said, well, he's like, I don't mind the look of Scarlet, but I don't know why she doesn't have a crossbow. And I was like, oh, she has it. I said, here it is. And he goes, oh, that's a crossbow. And I
There's a
said,
crossbow in
yeah,
there.
that's it. He's like, oh, all right. I think that's, in a nutshell, that's kind of been the reaction, at least from my friends that have seen them, is like, all right, they're cool. They're just not like home runs, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's like they got 75% of the way there, and then the other 25% is kind of iffy. As far as if I buy them or not, I'm not sure yet. Of course, I got the Snake Eyes, and I'm stoked about him, and I'll get Storm Shadow to go with him, just so I've got like this scenario back here. But as far as like the remainder, I don't know. I'm just gonna have to see them on the shelves, and I'm gonna have to make the decision at that point in time.
The thing that's missing with these releases, not so much Snake Eyes, but I think with Duke Scarlet and Roblox, the thing that's missing is the synergy. It's something that I've talked about in my videos since the very beginning. This isn't enough. It's not enough. Who cares? It's a nice looking figure. It's Crazy Legs. It's too bad that all I have around me is like the modern stuff. I don't have any of the vintage guys nearby, but it's not enough. You need a character. You need a story. You need situations, something to connect to, an idea. The figure's not enough. These new 6-inch figures, classified figures, they're Resolute figures to me. That's exactly the same as Resolute. When that thing came out, if you were to just look at the Resolute Duke figure, there's no fist pumping. There's no, yeah, there's, huh, okay, that's Duke. Then you watch Resolute, and you watch it, and you watch it, and the years go by, and it's been many years since Resolute, and you start to really appreciate Resolute as like the treasure that it is. And now when you see Resolute Duke, you go, oh, Resolute Duke. Man, I love Resolute. That is synergy. And that's what these 6-inch figures are lacking at the moment, right now.
Right.
They are going to have some sort of synergy. They will be in some kind of animation, if not the movie. These might be the movie designs. If not that, then they'll be in some kind of animation. These aren't just being put out there to be on their own. Like, they'll be in comics. The synergy part of it hasn't come out yet. And the reason why a lot of people, I think, are kind of scratching their heads and feeling not that pumped about it is because it's been done the other way and done right. It feels so many times in the past. The comic came out and then the figures, and like, whoa, it's the figure from the comic, and then the cartoon. And we saw Flint, what, a year or two before we ever saw his figure? Same
Right.
with Lady J. Like, they were in the Sunbow cartoon way before Duke, way before the figure came out. I remember like pushing and struggling to get a Duke at the toy store. Everyone wanted Duke because of we knew about him for a year, and we thought it was just hard to find. He wasn't hard to find. He wasn't released. He was a mailway exclusive. So I think once the synergy, the stories come out with these new designs, then there'll be a little bit more of a connection and a synergy, and people go, oh yeah, and they'll be able to appreciate it more. The Snake Eyes is fine because he looks so much like the original Snake Eyes. The synergy
Right.
is there. People go,
right.
oh yeah, from the Larry Hama comics, from the Sunbow cartoon. Not so much for the other three.
Right. I agree with that completely. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do from a supporting perspective, because you're right. You'd have to believe that it's some sort of animation, some sort of, there's going to be something, right, that
Yeah.
coincides. What I'll be curious to see is I've got a nephew that is 5, and I'll be curious to see what his thoughts are on him. If
5-year-old.
yeah, if
Oh
he can,
boy.
like, if it engages him at all. I just bought him a GI Joe scale F-18 like jet that you can get on Amazon. It's actually, so I actually had bought him that Sentinel C-130 I think the previous year, and I wanted to get him another jet, so I found this one on Amazon. Pretty cool jet, honestly, after I put it all together and everything. And he was super stoked about it. He was running around the house, making jet sounds, like, just like as I would have when I was a kid with my Sky Striker. Um, so, he's got it in his, when people say toys are dead to children, they're wrong.
Right.
Toys have to fight a lot harder for attention with all of the video games and tablets and all of the other these kids are bombarded with nowadays. For us it was a little different. There were basically the outdoors and toys.
Yeah.
And video games, when I was probably 5 or 6 years old, started to kind of take hold. But we still played with toys. It was still a huge focus of ours. So anyway, I'll be curious to see what his thoughts are on it.
And GI Joe had a leg up on the competition because you could take GI Joe outside.
Right.
I can't think of any toy line that was more fun outside than GI Joe.
Yep.
And they knew it too. That's why we got the Snowcat and the Mauler, the Mobat, like all that stuff. The
Yep.
Vamp. The Vamp was more fun to play with outside than inside.
Well, I remember the old ads. They would always show. Some of them were like kind of like a
Outside.
prefab like environment that kind of looked like the outdoors. But then there were some. I recall some specifically. It might have been the Sky Striker commercial. I can't remember,
They
but where
were.
it's kids running around outside, in a
Yeah.
field, like doing this number with the Sky Striker. So yeah, they even promoted it as being an outdoor toy. I mean, who didn't take the parachute pack and just like throwing as high as he could, like, and then
Into the tree.
right. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't,
That's why so many Sky Strikers are missing their parachute packs now.
Right. So yeah, I'm excited about the new line. Again, it wasn't like a home run like I was hoping it would be, but I'm gonna see what happens. It's still early. I haven't released anything yet, so I don't want to be too judgmental for something that hasn't even been released.
Yeah.
I think I was hoping for more along the lines of what Mattel's been doing with He-Man. Like where it's like basically like a love letter, to the vintage. I don't know. So we'll see. But what? So I think I've gotten some feeling on your thoughts on it, and obviously you had kind of alluded to it here. But are you taking a wait and see approach on probably the entire line then?
Yeah, the new designs, it's the exact same feeling I had with Resolute and Renegades. I like them, but it's not I'm not the intended audience. I'm 82 to 86, 80, some of 87, 88. That's my wheelhouse, and I can still stand by and really appreciate. It's like the guy who invented the Mustang. He can stand by and go, that's the one I made. Or someone who owned a Mustang, an original Mustang, and that was their dream car. They can just be on the sidelines and go, hey, I like what they're doing with it. I'm
Right.
not gonna buy it. I'm happy with what I have, and I'm happy with the GI Joe as I know and love it. So I'm more looking forward to like the classic versions, and that's kind of where I was scratching my head. Like when you unveil 6-inch GI Joe after so much begging and pleading and wishing and hoping, I thought you would go with the classics, and then exactly like they did with the modern series, start with the classics and then sneak in some of the newer designs, because that's why I bought the newer designs in the modern, like because I had the classics, and I was like, well, but this new whoever, Hardmaster, that's kind of a cool figure. Get him.
Right.
Quinn, hey, that's not bad. So Yeah, I'm a little, especially with nothing to go with it. There was no comic or cartoon to go with these new designs. There's no movie yet. So
Right.
maybe that's part of the whole, this is supposed to be selling to toy buyers, like department stores and stuff, more than for fans.
Sure.
Maybe it's a case of the fans thinking Toy Fair is all about them and it's not, it's maybe it is for the toy sellers, but I'm interested to see where it goes. I don't see why it can't be a blend of new designs and classic designs. But yeah, with the He-Man stuff, there's no new designs there. It's just the exact same old stuff with a little bit of extra articulation,
Right.
and that's really cool. I think those look cool too, but I'm kind of a pass on those for now as well because I appreciate them, but I look at my He-Man collection and go, but I have them. I have the originals. Plus, I have a couple of the Super 7 true to the vintage style ones. Plus, I have the classics. Plus, I have the 2002 He-Man. There's got to be a point where you go, all right, I am done. Or if I do get the new stuff, I have to move some stuff out. Like, got to
Right.
rotate your tires, kind of thing. Got to
Right.
move some stuff out to make room. And I really like my 2002. So if I have to pick between the new 2020 He-Man stuff and the 2002 Four Horsemen sculpted stuff, at the moment I'm going to stick with the 2002. But who knows? I love a good deal. So if I see a $10 brand new He-Man at a toy show or something, it's hey, that's pretty good value.
Yeah. For me, it's a matter of space. I
That too.
obviously with having, especially the big Joe play sets, obviously now, I just don't have any room, for to add those other lines. But I do, I do appreciate for sure. It's kind of funny. I hadn't even really thought about it, but you're right. He-Man's had quite a few, lines. Really, even within the last probably 15 years, there's been quite a few options.
Mega Constructs too.
Right.
Forgot
Yeah.
that. The
Yeah.
mini line. They've had a lot of kicks at the can. New adventures. Anybody? No, don't bring that up.
And then the Transformers. Some of the Transformers that they showed at Toy
Oof,
Fair were really cool.
brilliant.
Like Skylinks looked awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
Scorponok.
right, exactly.
Scorponok looks like a giant masterpiece.
Right.
It's incredible.
And so I'm really impressed with what they're doing with that line. But again, as much as I would love to support it, I just don't have the space for it. I've gotten into the vintage Transformer, the G1 Transformers, and I've got a fairly decent little collection of those. But yeah, there's for a lot of these modern lines, I don't have, there's not really a spot for them, currently. Like you said, I would have to rotate out.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, I don't want to rotate out my vintage Joes.
Yeah.
I love them. I don't want, there's nothing that's going to really replace those. So they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, same here. I'm interested to hear eventually what your nephew thinks of them, as well as like all kids, because there is that kind of feeling out there that kids don't play with toys anymore. They play with tablets and iPad portable devices and stuff. But like I would think there's something inside all of us that is just timeless and it doesn't evolve no matter how many illuminated screens you throw in a person's face.
Right.
And I wasn't much older than your nephew is right now. And I don't vividly remember the first time I saw Joe, but I remember the feeling. Like I don't remember like the setting and what I was thinking specifically, but I remember the feeling of seeing Breaker and Stalker, Rock and Roll and Short Fuse hanging on the peg. And I do remember looking at them and going, these guys are heroes. These guys are focused. They're serious. They are really, really good at what they do, and they're heroic. And most people need a hero. They want a hero. They want to look up to a hero. They want to admire. They want to be inspired. They want something that inspires them. And as I was growing up, my mom always tried to steer me away from, the creepy stuff, the demonic stuff. There would be stuff that I thought was really cool. I can't believe she ever bought me sectars like that. That one surprises me. But there were some like really creepy, ugly stuff, and she would say, "You don't want that in your house." And as a kid, I didn't understand. I'm like, "Why? It's cool." And she was trying to teach me that you don't want to behave like that. You are what you surround yourself with. You are what you immerse yourself with. Don't surround yourself with darkness. Don't surround yourself with negativity and with anger and bitterness and these, you know, these horrible, horrible people. Even though they look cool, choose character over fashion. So that's what really appealed to me, the character of GI Joe. I didn't care about what they were wearing, helmets and OD green. I like that steely grit, and they still have it. You look at those new 6-inch Joes, and you know, the one thing Joe fans would probably give a kudo to is he doesn't have the original Duke grin. You know, they got rid of that. Like he looks like Duke. He's steely,
Yeah.
intensity and focus. You know, all of them. They just look like they're good, great at their job, and they have a little bit of fun doing it. You know, it's not too much like yay. But I would think that would appeal just as much to a kid in 2020 as it did in 1982.
So I think I mentioned this on a roundtable probably about a month ago, but recently we had some family in town visiting, and one of the cousins is probably he's 8 or 9, and he was bored to tears at my in-laws' house, you know. And I said, let's run over to the house because we just live around the corner. I said, let's run over to the house and I'll grab my Nintendo Switch, you know, so you can play that, you know, and you know, keep you busy. And so anyway, he came with me over to the house. And I have the Switch, you know, right here, you know, within where all the Joe toys are at. So anyway, we walk in the house and we walk into the room, and he like stops dead in his tracks, and he's like, "What is all of this?" You know, like it's like the Defiant is like, I've got it up elevated, but you know, he's probably this tall, and the Defiant's like up here, you know, and he's just kind of like staring at it. And I told him, I was like, you know, this is G.I. Joe, man. And he's like, what? I've never heard of that. What is that? You know, and
toy artistry.
Right. So he was enamored. You know, he was super stoked about it. He was like, this is really cool.
Yeah.
So at that moment, I knew it's like there's still that magic. You know, there's still that interest. It's just a matter of finding a way to make it resonate.
Yeah.
You know, for in putting together a product that's robust, you know, and has, like you said, cartoons and comics and movies and the total package, right, to get these guys, you know, to get the children engaged.
Yeah, and retain the tone of its original intention. You know, GI Joe is that focused, laser focused superhero, but not like on the supernatural level. It's what humans can achieve through constant hard work and dedication and focus. It's achievable.
Right.
No GI Joe ever said I'm only human. That's the bottom line. That's the gist of it. There isn't a GI Joe alive who would go, well, I'm only human. That's not an option for a GI Joe. Every GI Joe, you know, does the job or makes the most of the situation because, you know, they're focused, they're honed, and that's how it needs to be presented. Not like you know, hey guys, you know, we're jokey guys, and they're not these other things. You know, the A-Team was the A-Team. The A-Team is not GI Joe, and GI Joe is not the A-Team. I love the A-Team, but that's because that's who they are, and they can't let GI Joe try to be the A-Team. It's not the same thing. As
Right.
goofy and funny as the Sunbow cartoons sometimes got, like I think it's still always retained that whole, we've got a mission, complete the mission, and we're a tight-knit group.
Well, I've been watching the show. You know, I watched probably 4 episodes between yesterday and today of the old, you know, Sunbow, and it still holds up. I mean,
Yeah.
good Lord, that's such a great cartoon. It's amazing how well written it is, and just enjoyable. You know, even though I remember many of them, you know, the episodes, you know, some of the cliffhangers at the commercial breaks, they still work.
Yeah, they do.
I'm like, I know what's going to happen, but I'm still kind of like on the edge of my seat, you know? So,
I love how they wrap up the cliffhanger in 10 seconds or 5
right,
seconds.
exactly, right when they come back from the break. Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, that was a close one. Footloose.
Well, I was watching, it was Pyramid of Darkness when Snake Eyes and Shipwreck are trying to gain access to the base, the Cobra Basin, that robot, and it's like,
The
you know,
blades and stuff.
yeah.
You just turn it off. You wait a whole day. I think that was the end of the episode. You had to wait a whole day, go to school, come home, and then how are they going to get out of it? They just turn it off. It's a misunderstanding.
So was there anything else at Toy Fair that kind of stuck out, that really caught your eye that you weren't expecting? There's one for me, and I'll be curious to hear what your thoughts are.
It was Ghostbusters, real Ghostbusters
Okay.
reissues, because
Yeah.
I've been looking at those for years. I've got the originals, and I wanted the carded ones because I love how they look on the card. It's a really great memory of pulling them off the cards and having them hanging on a wall and stuff. They're so expensive mint on card. They're really, really expensive. So untouched, untweaked, none of this. We got to make sure that people know they're reissues. So Venkman has to have a ponytail, and Egon will have, purple hair. They're exact reissues, and I think that's amazing that people who have really wanted a mint on card Ghostbuster but haven't been able to pay $200 or something can now get one for $15. It's just awesome, man. I might get a pair so that I can have one mint on card and have maybe a fresh opened one over by the desk or something outside of the collection. It's just when they're that affordable and they've been that expensive for so long, I'm really happy for everyone who gets to finally enjoy these. What about you? What was your
So, well, I guess it's they've been doing these now for a couple of years, but the line just continues to impress me. And it's actually two kind of separate lines, but the NECA Turtles product is just, it's gotten to the point where it's like, I mean, it was fan service before, but I mean, good Lord, they're just like hitting home runs like left and right. It's amazing. So the cartoon line, right? They've got the cartoon. Everything looks very, kind of animated look. That style, right? But
it's how the old toy should have looked.
Right. Absolutely. And then, but I think what really blew me away were the movie, like the Secret of the Use, Toka Razor.
Yeah.
I watched a video. I think it was Pixel Dan video where he was like, they were showing how the eyes articulated.
Oh, really?
And so you could like on Toka, where you could basically make him have all these different expressions just by like rotating his eyebrows.
Wow.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that, go check it out. And it's just the accuracy and the sculpt, but then also the engineering behind that to make it so versatile. So anyway, that was probably the one thing that seeing it, I was like, oh man, like I need to stay away from those. I could see myself dropping a lot of coin, on those. A really good friend of mine, Ruben, he's got the vintage turtles. He's got a lot of the turtles from over the years, but he did jump into that NECA line, and I know that his wallet is screaming right now because of what's impending.
Yeah, they're doing an amazing job, and like there was really nowhere left to go for Playmates. They did it all, and they made some really cool classics too. I think they made the classics, didn't they? Maybe that was another company.
They did some. I thought that they did
the
some
big ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if I can get those, but I really appreciate them. The one thing about NECA, NECA, I will always mispronounce it. NECA and McFarlane. But the one thing about them is that I had so many early NECA figures that broke on me from nothing, like literally falling back on their back and the head popped off, arm breaking off. Like, what is this stuff made of? And so even when I see amazing NECA products, like I think that 8-inch Roddy Piper from They Live is NECA, like, oh, but in the back of my mind, is it gonna break? So those Turtles figures, like Turtles especially, you want to really pose them for all the ninja kicks and chops and stuff. And like, will it take it? Do they use a different plastic on the Turtles toys?
I had the same problem. I bought many of the NECA Predator figures, and I still have them. But yeah, I've had a lot of trouble with that same thing. And if it's not the figure itself, like a joint or something, breaking, it's an accessory. So, like for example, I remember I bought the Ultimate Predator 2 City Hunter, which had like all the extra accessories. It was like kind of like the ultimate version. And I remember I pulled it out of the clamshell, and the loincloth like that
Oh,
goes around, like the strap just breaks. It's like, I was
that
like,
sucks.
it's like, are you kidding me? But it's the exact same feeling. It's like, well, it's like it's hard to is cool of a product as they make, and it's all and I love how they try to cover a lot of ground, so a lot of people aren't left out. It is pretty, frustrating when you open up a brand new purchase figure and snap, and
Yeah.
that's it.
They to me they look amazing. I don't know if they have the durability to play around with. So
Sure.
I mean, movie stuff is perfect because it's a nice display piece. But something like turtles is you really want to smash and bash these. So they
Yep.
better be made of different materials and be put together differently, like Playmates did. Because there's so many original turtles that are still not broken because
Yeah.
they were like He-Man figures. They were really built to last.
So yeah, my buddy that's got all those toys, the turtle stuff, he recently got back into the vintage, and he's got quite a few of the old vintage, and he has had no problem, locating really nice, fresh, minty originals, with that are in very good shape. Typically the only thing you run into is if some of the paint is scraped off of like a bandana or knee pad or whatever. But otherwise, the figure itself, they were super robust, very strong, and have stood the test of time for sure. So good quality product, and like you said, perfect for the slamming together and the bashing, that a child would do to them.
Yeah. Was there anything else at Toy Fair that caught your eye?
Um,
Defenders of the Universe? Is that what it was called?
yeah, I did see those. I'm not very familiar with
Me,
that line,
me
so
neither.
I saw a lot of excitement around
Yeah,
them,
yeah,
but,
same here.
but I was kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
Sure.
sad I missed out on that whole thing because that
Right.
that could have been like a
Yeah.
amazing thing.
One thing that always one thing I don't collect them, but I always, and because I'm a wrestling fan, but I always
Gotcha.
actually really enjoy seeing the wrestling figures, and the various, just what they're doing there, and then of course AEW had
Yes.
the first line around of figures, and I actually kind of on it was maybe 2 weeks ago now episode, they showed them handing like the first versions to the actual wrestlers for them to see, and like
Yeah.
the look on their faces was pretty priceless. They were super stoked to see themselves in figure form. But I was impressed with the design on them. I think, yeah, they probably aren't quite as realistic as some of the WWE figures, as far as like the molds and stuff like that. But I thought they looked great. So I'll probably end up picking up a few of those and maybe just having them in my office. Like maybe get like Kenny Omega, and like
Yeah.
maybe Chris Jericho. A couple of them, just maybe like have them like pose like body slamming each other, that kind of thing. Would be kind of cool.
I was a little disappointed when they showed Jericho's figure. He didn't go off on it. Like, this is the stupidest thing, you stupid idiot. I don't look anything like this. It'd be funny if he said, I'm in much better shape than this. Like, wink.
Yeah, you're right. That would have been perfect. I didn't even think
Where's
about
the
that.
Judas effect action? How come it doesn't do the? They just throw it on the ground and stomp on it. Put the lion tamer on the toy. Break it. Ask Cam. That would have been funny. But I'm glad that AEW, they call themselves an alternative to WWE, and
Right.
this is just my opinion. They certainly are, because I enjoy AEW and I don't enjoy WWE anymore. So that's a huge alternative. WWE, I have trouble, enjoying an entire show. Although the Rumble I thought was great. The Royal Rumble, I
Yeah,
really enjoyed the whole show.
this year's Rumble was great. I I enjoy NXT. I
Yeah,
like the NXT product.
Keith Lee, oof, awesome.
Yep, yep. The mainline WWE stuff, the Raw, SmackDown, it just doesn't do it for me at all. And
Yeah,
AEW is that. It's just what you said. It's that alternative. They I think they're firing on all cylinders right now. They had some growing pains starting off, like you would watch an episode and the sound would like act funny or cut out, and
Right. We're
you
going to
know,
commercial. No, we're
right.
not going to commercial. Folks, I don't know what's going on.
There's just something, I don't know. Like I said, to me they're just firing on all cylinders. It's the little stuff. It's like the best friends like hug in the zoom
Yes.
out. You know,
Orange Cassidy.
yeah, Orange Cassidy. Yeah. The half the
I understand. I get how many people, there's some, especially old school, purists, wrestling purists who can't stand Orange Cassidy. But I really appreciate Orange Cassidy because he's not just some schmuck idiot who sucks. The guy is brilliant. He's like, I'd say like a Bill Murray kind of comedic brilliance. Because you put Jim Carrey next to Bill Murray and them both to a guy who's never seen either. They're going to go, well, that guy's much funnier. The guy who's flailing and speaking with his butt. The other guy did nothing, right? This Bill Murray guy did nothing. But that's Orange Cassidy. Like, he seems to do nothing, but he's so brilliant in every little thing he does.
Yep. Yeah, like when he ends up in the, inevitably he ends up in the ring, right, at some point, and like face to face with like whoever the team is wrestling, and like he does like the little like just half like barely tap kicks the guy,
and
or in his thing with his hands into his pockets.
In his pockets.
Yeah, no, I agree with it. It's brilliant.
That's what works for me because he is lazy, but he's so intense about being lazy.
Right.
Because it's not, sometimes, he just slips the hands in his pockets. But the fact that he puts the hands up and does this huge, like that's the kind of Bill Murray style of humor for me. Like, do you not notice the over the top subtlety, if that's such a thing?
Yeah. And I don't know if you watched the episode from Wednesday, but in between the commercial break, of course they do like the cut, like the picture in picture. At least they do that here in the States. I'm not sure if they do that up in Canada. I would have to believe they do. But in between the break, it was Best Friends and Cassidy, and they had Tony Schiavone in the ring. And, of course, you can't hear what they're doing because, it's the commercials going. But, Cassidy gives Schiavone his glasses, and they're kind of like having a good time in the middle of the ring. And this is God's honest truth. I could see it in Schiavone's, the way that he was reacting to what was going on, that he was just so happy. Like with where he was now, of course, it's well chronicled, his, working part-time at Starbucks and all this stuff. Of course they like made it an angle with Britt Baker, but you could just see it, that he was so happy to be doing what he's doing, and he was really enjoying himself. And when I saw that, I was like, you know what? That's what I love about this show is that I'm watching it and I'm enjoying it. And I'm like, and I'm really enjoying. I'm not having to force myself to enjoy it. I'm enjoying it. It's natural. That's right. And, I think everyone that is there because they want to be there.
Yeah.
Whereas with the WWE, you get the feeling it's like everybody's there because that's all. That's the only option they've got. Right, contract. Yeah. So it'll be really interesting to see as the contracts start to expire. How if more people defect, but then you've got that really, you got to be careful, right? Because you don't want it to become another massive promotion, right? I think part of the charm with AEW is still small. It's kind of grassroots.
It's like the last territory. It's another one of the last territories. It reminds me so much of the first time I ever saw NWA wrestling in 1989. All we had in Canada was WWF for the longest time. We had Stampede. Occasionally I would come across Stampede, and Stampede's production value was so much lower than WWF. I didn't give it much of a chance. I didn't give it enough of a chance to see that some of the in-ring work was better than WWF. But one day, I don't know why, but one day we had NWA on one of our Toronto channels, just literally channel surfing, and what is this? Wrestling? But it's not WWF. And I had read the wrestling magazines, and I had seen so many pictures of Ric Flair and Sting and Lex Luger, and then finally to see them like in motion, the Road Warriors, and it just felt so natural and organic, and it made me believe wrestling was real. WWF was, and I think still is, definitely It's a show. They call it entertainment all the time. It's entertainment. Like
Yep.
they're telling you right to your face on the air, it's entertainment. None of this stuff is real. And AEW to me feels like old NWA, maybe a little ECW, just not so violent and extreme. But
Right.
it's kind of like it's got the spirit of Terry Funk. And Terry Funk, one of my favorite Funk lines was, "I can't make you believe wrestling is real, but I can make you believe I'm real." And that's AEW. Like not all wrestling is real, but we're real. Cody Rhodes, when he comes out there, all that other stuff is scripted. But this guy really, he cares. He believes this stuff. Is this going to cross over into something real here? So that's what I really appreciate about AEW. And I love that the figures look like the Mattel figures.
Hmm.
So even though AEW is an alternative to WWE, I think it was smart that the toys aren't an alternative to the Mattel toys, because there's nothing wrong with the Mattel WWE toys. They're
Oh,
fantastic.
yeah, they are. They're
So
great.
why would you go in an opposite direction of something that's fantastic and make something crap?
Right.
Like, so I think it's brilliant. I think they're the same size,
Yeah, they look it. Yeah.
about
Yeah.
that. So they'll be able to commingle. You'll be able to have AJ Styles, Russell, Kenny Omega in a dream
Yep.
match. And I love that they're also doing like outfits, like WWE's defining moments figures have. You got Chris Jericho with the Painmaker outfit, and the Bucks with the tassels and stuff. Great call. I think they look fantastic, and I'm looking forward to maybe some AEW classic figures like Legends. Can you
Yeah.
imagine an AEW Dusty Rhodes figure? How cool would that be?
Yeah, that'd be
Like a
sweet.
dream that the
Yeah.
Rhodes, baby, yeah. Or a three pack of the Rhodes boys. That'd be
Yeah, that'd
awesome.
be pretty sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only other thing AEW could do for me right now, like that would just like seal the deal as far as my fandom. And Cody's actually alluded to this in passing, and I don't know if there's any legitimacy to it, but if they were to do an Aki wrestling game, like kind of a la No
Oh,
Mercy, like
yeah.
and of course Aki, I don't think they're around anymore. If they are, it's probably not a shadow of its former self. But the guys that made those games are still out there.
Yeah.
Get an Do an Aki AEW wrestling game in the Aki engine, and I'm good to go. Like I
I
would be
would
so
love
stoked.
that. I
Yeah,
would love that. I love WrestleFest too, but I don't know if WrestleFest is something you can sit around and play for a couple hours.
right.
It's like you can play for, a half hour and then have fun, but you want something that you can invest in and do a season or a year or a career, build a wrestler. You can't beat No Mercy, WrestleMania 2000 before that. Like it was
Yep.
so amazing, the amount of customization you can do, and you can in the new games too. But I miss that arcade look and feel
Yep.
instead of this photorealistic thing that just they hit weird and they move
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, it just doesn't really work for me. You when of course after they lost the license, there's the Def Jam games, the Def Jam Vendetta and Fight for New York, which a lot of people were turned off from them because of the subject matter. It was kind of a lot of the rap artists and R&B artists of that era, and people are like, I don't want to wrestle as Method Man or whoever it was, right?
Yeah.
However, there were customization elements to it, especially in the second game, and that was the gameplay was outstanding in that game. I mean, I could fire that game up right now and have an absolute blast with it. So anyway, I think it goes back to just the way that engine was designed. It was just a great engine that was wasn't I wouldn't call it simulation, but it was the perfect blend of simulation and arcade, like you said, and just if like I said if they made an AEW game in that with that engine, I feel like I would buy like to support it. I would buy like 10 copies and
Yeah.
like just give it to my friends and be like, hey, you need a copy of this, even if you don't play it very much. Like I'm supporting these guys for doing this. So
And I'm so looking forward to that now that you've thrown it out there. Not saying it's coming, but I'm so excited about it. In the meantime, I'm going to go actually fire up the emulator and play some classic No Mercy and
yeah,
actually create some AEW wrestlers like the American Nightmare Cody. Can't say his last name. We don't want to get sued. But yeah, Kenny Omega, the Bucks, and you know, old Death Rider John Moxley.
That's a really good point, actually. That's it's a really good idea.
Yeah, I'm going for it. And I think most of the moves are in there. Maybe not the crossroads, but the great thing about No Mercy was there were so many moves. There's what, hundreds of moves.
Hundreds.
You could get close. I remember back in the day making Brock Lesnar, and there wasn't an F5, but there was something close to it. There was a shoulder-mounted diamond cutter, which is close to an F5. So,
right. Yep. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm sure you could piece it together pretty effectively. So.
Yeah. So AEW's pay-per-view, this will be out after, but we're going to get geared up for that right now. So yeah, we're coming up on an hour and a half. This has been an awesome chat.
Yeah.
To talk about so many cool things. Glad we got to talk about Toy Fair and the highlights, and I love talking about the flag. So I'm very happy that you got to track one down with box too. Man, what are you gonna do with a box? I mean, you're having trouble where to put the flag, but where to put the box? Put the box on the flag.
What I've done with the boxes I do have is I just kind of consolidate them into like, you know, one box. You know, so like I'll probably just take other boxes and put them into the flag box, and then that way, you know, and then I'll just store them. You know, because I don't really have a really good way to display them. But yeah, nice bonus for sure.
Awesome. And I'm looking forward to the restorations. Feel free to post them on the Patreon page.
Yeah,
they're
absolutely.
On the community wall. Big thanks to the Patreon tribe out there. Podcast hosting is not free, so I appreciate the support of the Patreon tribe who help this not only be a video on YouTube, but also a podcast that goes out to all the different podcast catchers out there. So thanks everyone for listening. And Matt, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Good to talk to you.
All right. Thanks everyone out there for listening. Have yourself a great day or week. And until next time, Nerdmas Day, good brothers and sisters. Yo, Joe!